I think we're live. For some reason, when we go live, it doesn't show me right away the video. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay, we are on. Hey
Awesome.
everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Tips Over Tea. I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Mallory here with me today, and she's a physician assistant in a primary care clinic on her way to be working in a functional medicine um,
Mhm.
location. So I'm excited to that you're here. Thank you for joining me
Thank you.
today. So tell me what got you into the functional medicine, or even just share your journey to this.
Yeah, definitely. So hi everyone. Yeah, so I would say it all probably started when I was a child, and when I was 7 years old, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And so just with that came a lot of doctor's appointments and trips to, get treatment and various things, and just dealing with, the symptoms of RA. And so I think that kind of paved the path to going into medicine, and just being interested in like the human body and science and wellness. And so, your standard path of like, okay, what do you want to be? Like a doctor, a lawyer, go to college. So I thought, I graduated high school and I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. Like, I know it. Yeah. And I got to school, I got to college, and I was going to major in neuroscience because I love the brain. And um, it just fascinated me. And I started my studies and I realized like, well, this is not quite what I wanted. It was
Yeah.
just very like chemistry and physics and just the hard sciences, which are, interesting, but they just didn't, motivate me.
Mhm.
And that's when I found first psychology. And so I started courses in psychology. And then I found health and wellness was a track at my university. I went to the University of Minnesota. And so that was amazing. The coursework included like, kind of like your standard stuff like kinesiology, so like movement of the body, psychology, anatomy, physiology, but then it has courses through the Center of Spirituality and Holistic Healing at the
Yeah.
U.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And so I took courses that introduced me to like acupuncture and like energetic medicine. Um, I took one course actually where they required you to try a different therapy, and they were all new to me. And so I tried hypnotism,
Hmm.
and it was amazing. And I just loved all of that stuff. And I eventually found my path to, becoming a physician assistant. And I worked as a nursing assistant, and it taught me a lot about, we can be prescribed something by a provider, but it doesn't mean it's going to register with us or be something that we're going to actually want to do, because that change really has to come from inside of you.
Yeah.
The answer kind of has to come from inside of you for you to want to make those changes. And so anyways, I went to PA school. I really enjoyed it. I love education.
Hmm.
um, and then I started practicing in primary care, and it's been really great, but a challenge, helping people address their needs in just 15 minutes or 30-minute visits.
Yeah.
It's Yeah, it's been tough. And so I greatly enjoy it, and I love, seeing my patients that I see on a regular basis, especially when they're making improvements and we're making changes. And I also see a lot of patients that come in and they're like, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating well, I'm exercising. Why is nothing working? Why is nothing changing? My labs still say, high blood sugars, or my blood pressure is still high. And so, getting to take time to educate them and really go deep into, why this is happening, it's really awesome. And so I've always had this passion for more of holistic medicine, but starting my career now and being in primary care, I realized, I want to get to the root of things. And so that brought me into functional medicine, where I'm currently doing a course right now. And that's how I met NIKKI. Yeah, she's helping me right now with the elimination diet.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of a long story, but it's all kind of guided me there. And I think it's one of the biggest things, though, and I tell it to everyone, is we don't always have control over our health.
Hmm.
But we have control over our wellness, meaning like the actions that we take to control our wellness and therefore influence our health.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine that because it's not like being diagnosed with RA at an early age. It's not like that was a
Mhm.
result of life habits. You had,
Yeah.
you're just barely getting started. So yeah, you didn't have control over that part of your health, but
Yeah.
you have had control over what you do to try to um, minimize any flare-ups or anything like that. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because when we're young and these health conditions happen and I mean, they think maybe like virus could have triggered it or something, they screen you for like Lyme's disease and different things can have an effect. But more recently, I've actually found a mentor I've been working with, working on more like deep inner, almost like subconscious
yes, yes.
level changes. Yeah. And working with them, I realized, so it kind of goes, I recently started working with them, but back in college, I was having a lot of flare ups of my RA.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I was dealing with like just anxiety and like feelings of grief and guilt. Mostly guilt was the largest one. And I was like, where is this guilt coming from? And I went to a Catholic school, even though I'm not Catholic. And I think just that I got instilled with like that Catholic guilt,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize how much it was holding on to me. And I decided to, recognize it and let it go. And that's when my RA really, I made a lot of life changes too. Like I worked on my health once I was in
Yeah.
college a lot more, my diet better. But I think like releasing that guilt really helped me. And I didn't realize that until now when I started working with this person, and just working on these like deep inner changes. And so that's also a path that I'm going on now, and I'm, yeah, expanding more on, and it's just beautiful.
It
It's,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, I talk to people about that a lot because it's so it seems so foreign. Like, are you
Hmm.
serious? My internal feelings are could be creating havoc in my body. I'm like, yeah, it creates
Yeah.
inflammation and other things, and so and it just, especially in the Western world, we're so used to medication fixing things, and we're
Yeah.
just like this. It seems too simple to actually work to let go of resentment and anger and frustration and guilt
Yeah.
and start to feel better because you're letting go of that. So that's
Hmm.
awesome that you correlated that together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this year for so many people, it's just been like so different. And, you can look at it as, like being resentful or just, what good can come of it, what sort of change. And I think this year has just been, this past year, 2020 has just been like a really big year for reflecting. And yeah, I'm just so happy that I've like woken up to this, and I feel like more and more people are, and that's the really beautiful thing. And
Mhm.
I'm sure, just working with your clients and seeing the difference that it makes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just I love the aha moment because
Hmm.
it's like it's so it's not easy. So it's simple, or it's what is it? It's simple, but it's not easy,
It's,
right?
yeah,
Like, I know sometimes like I've done it and I'm like, how do I know I did it right? Like, how do I know
I
I'm
know.
actually releasing
I
things,
know.
right? Because you don't know right away. You don't notice things. Like for you,
Yeah.
when you released the guilt, did the how long did the flare up take to calm down? Was it like immediate or?
So I would say back at that time, I was working really closely with my rheumatologist, and I knew of like working on my wellness, but I also, I'm guilty of like wanting that quick fix. And I had a very large campus where like you have to, walk all over, and I had this flare up. It was the worst in my at that time it was my right knee, and I literally just couldn't walk around. And so I went to my rheumatologist and I like begged for a cortisone injection. And now that I do it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that because I know how bad it is.
Yeah.
But that, helped a good chunk of it. But
Hmm.
after, I would say, I can't tell you the timeline, but after that, the stressors that I was dealing with, I was still in school, I was still, working, trying to get into grad school. So all of those things were still there. I would say it was just really like recognizing the guilt and
Yeah.
releasing it and saying, it's not mine and I can let it go. And I think just after that, it was, like, okay, like it just didn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was talking with people yesterday, I one thing I say is like if you feel a pain, there's two things you should first ask yourself. Like, what did I eat? Or what am I holding on to that I need to let
Yeah. I
go?
love that.
Mm-hmm. Because I remember I was telling them that there was one time my knee felt like swollen a little bit, and I'm like, what did
Mm-hmm.
I eat? I don't remember what I concluded, but I think I just kind of ran back like a 24 hours prior just to like figure out
Yeah.
what I ate and tried not to eat it again. It was a while ago that that happened, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember what it was. But I just after learning um, how letting stuff go can have such a positive effect on your health, and just
Mm-hmm.
also paying attention that body awareness to when you eat something. That's what
Yeah.
that came from. So
So true. And I think that kind of draws on a point that I realized is just like making sure you're asking the right question and just giving yourself that time to be curious rather than like, oh, my neck hurts, so annoying, like, and
mhm.
moving on with it instead of saying like, well, why does my neck hurt? And maybe that question isn't enough, but kind of giving it a minute and like asking some more questions, or like, what is it asking of me, or what does it need right now? And the question might come up,
Mhm.
or the answer might come up. And actually, just recently, uh, a couple weeks ago, I was feeling just so tired, and it had been like a month, and um, it a lot of changes are happening right now because we're getting ready to move, and I'm getting ready to start a new job, and also wrapping up this current one, and I help with my PA program with some like side education stuff. And so I was just taking on all this stuff, and I was like, I'm so tired. And I think it's just all this stuff. But
Mhm.
I kept pushing and like, okay, we're just going to get through, got to get it done. It's fine. Like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And instead, I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit with it. Cause like I've been resting, I've been eating, like, what's going on? Why am I still tired? And um, I have lab work routinely done with my rheumatologist, and I didn't. He always calls me and says like, "Oh, it's fine, nothing's wrong with it." And there's usually like some stuff that's wrong with it, but he just overlooks it.
Uh-huh.
And I knew I've been like borderline, like almost anemic, but never quite. And so when I went on to check my labs, because that thought came to me when I gave myself that time to look for the answer,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, check your labs. And sure enough, I was anemic. And I was like, okay, well, great. Like, I can fix this. Like, my body wants more iron and needs more
Mhm.
protein. And
Mhm.
yeah.
I love it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's true. We do a lot of times just easily dismiss it because we're so busy. Or like, let's just
Mm-hmm.
fix this, and you're right. Like asking the right questions, it'll come to you. Like, what do you need to do next? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had a headache the other day, and I was telling my sister, I was like, when I said this body has a headache, what do I need? I like immediately saw a 16-ounce bottle of water. I was like, oh, okay. I kind of subconsciously knew that because I knew I hadn't drank enough water, but
Yeah.
it just that's what came to mind. I was like, got it. I'm gonna drink
Mm-hmm.
some water.
Yeah, it's sometimes just a simple answer. You're right.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's not always like a simple way of getting to it. And it's unfortunately like a really foreign concept. It's not something, you know, from the minute we're able to walk, we're being told, don't do this, don't do that, like stay away, that's dangerous, or like, oh, you got into something and you weren't supposed to do that, like
Hmm.
some punishment happens. And so like right away we're taught like, oh my gosh, like listen to what others are saying rather than listening to like our own intuition. And so it's this like journey back to ourselves of, how can I listen better? And unfortunately, not everyone like finds that until a major health condition happens or some awakening event,
Hmm.
and some may never realize
Hmm.
it either.
Yeah,
um, yeah.
that's what we're here for to help
Yeah,
free
yeah.
minds.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really, really talk about that with my clients, just that awareness and that body awareness and sitting and listening. And I do believe for some that 2020 has given them the kind of forced them into slowing down and listening. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunate or fortunate, however you want to look at it. I say for me, fortunate. But
Yeah.
I'm excited at the level of awareness rising for people,
Hmm.
and 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 then I love it when practitioners like you find like there's or think there's got to be a better way to help
Hmm.
people, and you seek out like functional medicine and
Yeah.
naturopathy and all that. So absolutely ecstatic that you do that, that you decided to do
Hmm.
that, and I'm so glad to meet you.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad this brought us together. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh,
And the elimination diet, it's been good. It's um challenging like the first couple days, but and I didn't prep for it as well as I could have. You called me on like the Friday before I was supposed to start on, the upcoming Monday, and I was like, oh
mhm.
yeah, I'm doing that. I forgot. And I like you told me like, read these things and thank goodness because I just like wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
But I think there's kind of a power that comes with just jumping in and just doing it. Because I
Mhm.
think if I was dragging my feet, like, okay, I gotta prep everything, it's got to be the perfect time, but it doesn't. And you're kind of forced into doing it, and it's good. I made sure I had lots of like healthy snacks, lots of options, and meal prepping has been huge. But it's just kind of nice like giving myself almost like permission that I'm not going to eat the junk food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's empowering too, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, it's one of the things I say with my clients too when they're going through like the part of that program, part of my program that's kind of like an elimination diet. Um, and somebody offers them something, I say, you can't say I can't have that because nobody's really forcing you to not have it. You're literally
Yeah.
choosing to not have it right now because of your overall goal that we're working towards.
Hmm.
So, and to be able to say, I'm choosing not to have something that you really kind of
Yep.
maybe want,
Yeah.
it builds some self confidence in you, and it just does a lot just mentally when you turn
Yeah.
something down by choice.
I love that. I love that you say that. And I'm going to change it to I choose, because I talk with my patients, and unfortunately in like the 15 minutes that I'm trying to see them and address like multiple things, because I
Hmm.
want to talk about their like high blood pressure, diabetes, and like high cholesterol, but they want to talk about like their right toe pain and this weird rash that came up, but it's no longer there. And so it's like it's a give and a take, like a balance of like, okay, we're going to address these things and these things, but I try to throw in just little tips like that. And for people who are, trying to eat healthier, I say like instead of saying I can't have that, say I don't want that. But I like that you say choose, because I think it's because maybe they do want it, like you said, but they're choosing not to, and it's like like a empowered place to be at.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and I love it too with family members especially. Um, it helps. It's kind of like you're influencing them, like not by telling them what to do, but you're kind of showing, like especially ones with kids,
Yeah.
you're showing what it looks like to take charge of your health, like
Mm-hmm.
intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we want to like break this generational thing we've got going on. So,
Yeah.
so
It's true. Yeah. And it, some people might say like, oh, you can just have it, just have some. And some people may be upset by it or, triggered by it, but it's not necessarily your fault. It's not your fault. And, you have to kind of accept that they're coming at it from a different angle, and something else that they need to work on is triggering it. And so either way, you can look at like, how is it bad for that person to get upset, but how is it good for them, like then it's an
mhm,
opportunity for them to ask themselves like, well, why am I getting upset about this, and
yeah,
why am I triggered that they're choosing not to have it. It's an opportunity for them to say, do some inner work too,
yeah.
inner reflection.
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
Love that.
Hmm.
Inadvertently impacting other people.
Yeah.
Decisions.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Awesome. We have 9 minutes. I don't know how it went by so
Oh,
quickly.
yeah. I
Um,
apologize.
no, it's great. That's good. That we're having fun. You know, time
Yeah,
flies when you have fun, right?
definitely.
Are there any tips or takeaways that you would like to just share with everyone that gets to watch this, either watching live or watch later?
Yeah. I think just going back to what we talked on, and you even said it the other day when I was asking about, should I watch out for these foods, as you know more than you think you know. And I think it's just about taking that time to listen for a minute. And just earlier, my boyfriend and I were driving back home, and we mix up in directions, and like I just like got a little angry, and I'm like, okay, well, this is an opportunity for me to realize like what's coming up, like why am I getting angry right now, and what what is triggering my impatience. And just everything is just an opportunity to learn and to grow. And I think yeah, it's just there's so much to learn in every minute. And
Mm-hmm.
I think something else I'd like to share is not comparing yourself to anyone. And that's been a really big thing that I had to let go and release. Towards the end of last year, I was just sort of in this middle gray zone where I'm like, I'm not sure where I want to go. I'm not happy in this current job, but I don't know what my path was. And I wasn't really thinking, like, oh yeah, I could do functional medicine. It just like wasn't in my thought, and
Yeah.
just wasn't in my mind. But the mentor I was working with at the time said, and I was kind of just like in this like gloom, and I'm like, oh, there's nowhere for me to go. But he said something, there's good and bad in every moment. So, right now there's something to be happy about, and there's something to be sad about. And so, when you find yourself in those sad moments, and there's just, you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling the sad, but where are you also feeling the good? Where are you also feeling the happy? And it's not about like blindly chasing that happiness, but staying in that balance zone where you're empowered and aligned. And that's where the answers can come from. And that's where I feel like I found my path back to this functional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't there, last year, and it brought me back to it. And it's
Nice.
just,
That's how you know you're
I
where you're
knew.
supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I have a friend that says frustration and focus can't happen at the same time. So, in order for you to focus and figure out what you want to do next, you got to let go of the frustration.
That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're just like blocking all the good that you could be manifesting towards
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
hmm
Exactly. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, it blocks the creative brain because it kind of puts you in fight or flight mode when you're frustrated like
hmm
that, right? And that's
Yeah,
another thing I talk about. And you and me geek out on neuroscience and all that stuff.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like if you're frustrated and you're in fight or flight mode, your thinking
hmm
brain is on the
Yeah.
back burner, and you can't come up with creative ways to get out of whatever
Yeah.
the situation is.
Yeah.
So,
And I tell my patients how much just deep breathing can help, because no matter what, you're still a human, no matter who you are and how terrible you feel your anxiety or your stresses in that moment. You're
yeah.
still a human, and taking 3 really deep breaths, like scientifically switches your nervous system from the fight or flight to the rest and digest. It changes your
Mhm.
sympathetic to your parasympathetic. And so, and it gives you that pause and that slow down, and like the opportunity for more to come into your awareness.
Mhm. Mhm.
hmm
Yep, I talked about that yesterday too. I like to use it because people can really relate to it when you think about eating, right? Like
hmm
if you take that pause and you're calm and you're relaxed, and that when you're about to eat, your body will absorb and love the food. But if you're in fight or flight mode when you're about to eat, your body's not thinking about digesting your food.
yeah.
It's like
hmm
trying to run. All your
yeah.
blood's going to your muscles.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
so true.
the importance of that deep breathing, it'll put you in a more rested, receptive state.
It totally will.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you'll enjoy it more too.
Right?
hmm
Yep. And
yeah.
then you'll just be surprised at how creative you are. Like, I
Hmm.
never thought about doing that. I could do that instead.
Hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
love me.
I know. Yeah. It's just like we hold so many answers, and
Yeah,
if only we just listen to them,
yeah, yeah.
it's right there.
Awesome.
Hmm.
So, cool beans. This has been
Hmm.
good. Good.
Yeah.
Let me
Thank you.
see. You're
It's been
welcome.
good.
Let me see if I can see if there's like any. This is when I was working on this yesterday. I was like, how do I see if there's any comments or anything? But let me see. I'm gonna mute this and pull it up on Facebook just to make sure.
Oh, I think you're on
Yeah, I
mute.
did. I did. I was like, it's so odd how this works. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out one of these days. If there are any comments, I don't see them at the moment. Um, but we'll just go back through and check them in. And if you see any
Yeah.
questions for you specifically, just pop on there and respond and I'll do the same.
Sounds great.
Cool. Awesome. I thank you so much for getting
Yeah.
right on the
Thank
call
you.
after
Yeah.
being on the road for the last like 6 hours.
You're
So
fine.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to bid you a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you so much. It's been a
You're welcome.
pleasure.
Likewise, and we'll chat again soon.
Yes. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay. Take
Ciao.
care.
You too.